Hey guys, welcome to this week's live stream. I'm here with our new publishing manager, Theo.
Hey guys.
And we wanted to take today to give you a bit of a case study on aquapark.io, which has been recently trending globally very heavily at the top of the charts in many, many countries. We were originally going to talk about Castle Rec, and we've decided to push that back by 2 weeks. It's a great game; it's performing very well. But we felt that the recent development with Aquapark was worth mentioning quickly. So, without further ado, we will now pass to the case study itself. If you guys want to take a look at these few slides that we've prepared for you guys. Aquapark team, namely Cassette, where Corin, Edgar, and Søren did a fantastic job on the game. It was, months of work, but well worth the effort. And we just want to do a big thanks to you guys, big congrats, and we're so happy to work with you guys. And our whole teams here are working closely with you. So doing so in a really easy, functioning way has been awesome. Congrats, guys. One thing I wanted to just discuss quickly before going into the case study for Aquapark itself is virality. It's kind of the one thing that we don't discuss explicitly in our calls with you guys or in our emails. The reason is that we don't quite know where it comes from yet. What we do know is that if we look at our most viral games historically, you can see the list here going from Twisty Road to Hole.io, to Dunk Hit, to Helix, 2048 Bubble, Dune, Crowd City, Paper. All of these from left to right were extremely viral. And virality basically means when we acquire a user, sometimes we just get that user, sometimes we get 2 users or maybe 3 users. And depending on how viral your game is, how stimulating it is visually to see someone else play the game, or how much you want to look it up organically in the charts, that game will be viral. And so if you look at these games, there's one thing that we've found recently to be the case by looking at all these games is that IO games tend to outperform other games. So if you take Hole, if you take Crowd City, if you take Paper, all these IO games have been overrepresented in the top viral games that we have, meaning we've been publishing many more runners, for instance, than there are runners in proportion to IO games in our top viral games. Aquapark, we're not sure yet where it falls. It's only been a couple of weeks, but it's looking like it's extremely viral. And we've been able to tell because if I just actually skip a slide, we've been looking at social media. TikTok, for instance, had 90 or 100 million views for the Aquapark hashtag. If you look at YouTube, you'll find plenty of videos with tens of thousands of views for people describing Aquapark, describing playing Aquapark, and so the game clearly went completely viral. To come back to the analysis that we did previously, we noticed that IO games and to some extent puzzle games were overrepresented in virality. And so With that said, we're not saying you guys should completely focus on viral games. That's not the objective here. If you're just doing I/O, if you're just doing puzzle games, we're going to end up with a saturation, which will put you at a disadvantage. All we're saying is there are elements of virality that you can look for. If you look at this list, it's probably helpful in understanding some of the things that make games viral. And by no means are we saying do a Crowd City because it'll be viral, because Crowd City came out at the same time as Popular Wars, came out at the same time as Army.io, and these games did not go viral. So take all of this with a grain of salt, but try to think about virality even as you're designing your game. Cool, so without further ado, first off, I wanted to just say a quick note before jumping into Aquapark. And that's that if you guys have questions for after this case study, if you could please ask any questions you can think of about gameplays, about games themselves. It's less useful, less of a good forum in this live stream to talk about more of the marketing UA stuff, which as publishing managers we're less qualified to address. But by all means, shoot any questions you have either on Aquapark if they're not addressed, or on any other game or question you might have. Cool, so going back to Aquapark and the awesome job that Cassette did, I just want to go back to the idea itself, because so much of the value of your games comes from the idea. As long as you have the execution skills, and all of you do, the question is really what is the idea, and how do you come up with the idea? And Cassette actually did an amazing job, and they have a fantastic brainstorming approach, which is not only to brainstorm amongst themselves, which is super important, but also with random people. So they actually told me that they brainstorm with kids, with older people, with girls, and they basically get unfiltered ideas from random non-gamers into, what would you like to see on your mobile device as a game? That is a step that they've taken, and that's one of the ways that they came up with Aquapark, is literally asking the end user, meaning a mass market non-gamer audience, what do you guys want to play? And that's quite refreshing, and I don't know too many studios that do this, actually. So potentially a very good approach to have in general as you are coming up with ideas. So the idea for Aquapark itself came with from a very simple thought, which was, why don't we make a game where you're sliding down a slide with a water slide, and there are interactions with other players. So it's a multiplayer game, and that was basically the basic premise. So it did come from a theme, a real-life experience. It didn't come from necessarily just a core mechanic. But the result was that they were also thinking about the mechanic. They were also thinking about engagement and how users are interacting with others in the game. So the idea came literally as this to us. And in conversations with the publishing manager at the time, who was Hugo, they actually said, yeah, let's do it. This is a great idea. We come up with a few references from the Android Play Store and built it. And they did a fantastic job, because if you can look at even version 1 is fairly similar visually to today's version. It did have some different KPIs. Although the day one from the very beginning was very strong, even with a single map. And the reason for that, we think, the first reason might be that, first of all, it's a very forgiving gameplay. So you can literally go down the slide without moving your thumb, almost like an idle game, and you might come in first position. So it's a game that caters to every user, because if you're more active, if you want to take more risk, if you want to push people off, you can. But if you want to keep it simple and just try not to die, that's fine as well. So as I said, we had a strong retention with a single environment. And as a result, we knew that the core mechanic, the core loop, was very strong and had a lot of potential. The second thing is that you had a snowballing avatar. So it was closer to a traditional I/O game, and maybe a bit less realistic. If you take a look at the avatar itself, it was a little bit hard to relate to. And the most important, maybe, out of the first version is that it had no hack. You were not able to go through the slide and take more risk by trying to take shortcuts. And there was no real jumping at the beginning, which means that both from a CPI perspective, which was in the high 30s, as well as from a day 7 perspective, because of the lack of depth, there was a challenge ahead. And we didn't discover the hack overnight, but in version 2 already, we had already more depth to the game. So there was occasional jumping available, as you can see in the video now. You see that players are taking the shortcut where they can, but you can also see there are far fewer shortcuts to take than there are today. So that added depth to the game by enabling users to hack the core gameplay, a bit like Twisty Road does. Ironically, Twisty Road, you also saw in the viral curve, was quite high, but that's probably just a coincidence. The second thing is that balancing, in terms of balancing, we had a much more forgiving gameplay, where the bots were still consistently challenging the user. So instead of having bots that had fairly simple AI, we had bots that would follow you after you essentially took a shortcut. And that was part of the day 7 uplift. You can see from 11%, we went to 14%. CPI came down a little bit as well, quite a bit. And that was linked partly, we think, to the jumps. Now, as a third version, we really emphasized what we thought was working out, meaning we made the jumping and landing animations quite smooth, so that they were not disrupting, and so that you would continue to encourage these jumps, which were made more satisfying and less risky because they were more readily available. The second thing we did was, as you can see, just encouraging that easy jump by multiplying the opportunities to do so, and making sure that if you jump randomly, chances are you'll probably manage to find your way back onto the main track. Second thing that was done was the end of level visual was enhanced, and you could do a pool jump, a little bit like Purple Diver, where you jump along with all the other players. We also added a glider as well as visual rewards. You'll probably not see the glider in today's version, which is just because it underperformed in our A/B testing post-launch. So with that said, we managed to get to a CPI of around 22 cents with this. We once again emphasized the jumps way more. The day 1 was fairly stable at 48%, and the day 7 continued to rise at 15%. Which brings us to our final version. One thing I do want to mention at this stage is that these were not steps that we took completely randomly. To emphasize the jumping, for instance, was done because we noticed that Facebook videos, CPIs, for early jump videos were outperforming those that were focusing on the race gameplay. So we really had a learning from our CPIs into what people wanted to do. Namely, they wanted to jump much more than just racing. It gives you a sensation of falling. It's quite appealing, and within a couple of seconds of looking at the video, you can tell what the game is about. Now, version 4 was the version we published. It was the CPI came drastically down. We got rid of the blue avatar. We replaced it with a more realistic female baby in this video, or younger person, and we were able to add more environments with cassette. There were 3 environments in the version that we launched. We got rid of the gliding, which was maybe adding a little bit too much of complexity into already a kind of double gameplay in the game, and we made sure that you could jump straight into the pool from anywhere in the game, meaning we took the hack even further. Because one of the great strengths of Aquapark is that, as we said, you can play without moving your thumb, and you might even win. So no matter how good or bad you are, you'll enjoy the game. You'll want to hack it more, hack it better, and try to save time. Taking shortcuts in games, whether it's Helix Jump, whether it's Aquapark, whether it's you name it, will make you feel efficient in a game, and you'll feel like you're achieving things at a faster rate, and therefore it is a very satisfying feeling that you might want to work on in your own games. Anyways, to wrap things up, we want to say once again a big congrats to the whole team at Cassette. You guys really nailed it, and we can't wait to work even further on your games and on Aquapark. We're working hard around the optimization of the game, and we can't wait to get to an even broader audience, to maintain the game, to optimize it, and to basically nail it for weeks and months to come. So nice job.